likeness and in our image. These are two separate and two distinct elements. The image and then the likeness. The image is really our spirit being, that we are spirit beings in the likeness of God. So we are a spirit living in a physical body and having a physical experience. But we are spirit. That's why when you die and your corpse is there, they no longer refer to you as Mr. Stanley or whatever. They say this is the corpse, this is the body. Why? Because the actual person is left, right? So that's how unique. So God created us there's a two dimension. There's a spiritual. We are a spirit in the same way. That's the image of God in us. Then we have a likeness of God, which means our creative capacity, our ability to produce things, to understand, to reflect, and to design and to manufacture and to come up with something. That is also an element which is coming from God. So in our nature, that's what we are. God has given us a capacity and an ability to create. Animals don't have that. So that makes us unique in God's creation, and we are placed at the center of God's creation to be managers or to be stewards of God's creation. So we have a tough responsibility, an exciting role in the creation of God, and we must be fully awake and aware to that. David, when he was writing the Psalms in Psalms 139, he realized this. And in a couple of places, David reflects and sees the role of man, and he shares and he articulates how important the role of man is. And in Psalms 139, he says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. David is describing that when you look at a human being, you are looking at a supercomputer. You are looking at an intricate creation, which has a capacity and an ability to be like God, to create and to make things and to imitate God. So David realizes that, but a lot of us do not. We dump down on ourselves and we look down on ourselves, and we've got a lot of, we don't have self-esteem, and we just so, miserable and so poor. And yet God has put a uniqueness in us. We need to be awake to that. And in Psalms 8, verse 4, David says, what is man, O God, that you are mindful of him? What is the Son of Man that you even visit him? So God has a relationship with us, and God speaks to us. Sometimes we just think, oh, it's my own thoughts, it's my own, that brilliance which you have, that spark of genius which you have when you are doing whatever you are doing comes from God. It is actually a nature which is coming from God, which is deposited in you. And each and every one of us is unique in his own way, just like our fingerprints are unique. God has made or has inserted his uniqueness in us. And in Psalms 144, verse 3, he repeats the same thing. He says, what is man that you take knowledge of him, that you are mindful of him? So your thoughts, your dreams, your aspiration, God is mindful of them. And David was aware of that. And my contribution today is just to make you aware that God is mindful of you. God loves you. God has a special place and a special purpose for you as a man. That's why he actually created you first. And then later on, out of you came Eve. So it means that when he created man, Eve was already inside Adam. So we are not that much different apart from our biological makeup. So because Eve was already in us when God created us. So that's how unique and wonderful we are. And also, just to keep emphasizing, because a lot of us suffer from lack of self-confidence and self-esteem. We look at ourselves and we think we are nothing, can never amount to anything, and we compare ourselves to other people and we go on a pity party and so forth. No, each and every one of us is unique, and God has a purpose. And just as much as He has given you unique fingerprints, God knows you individually and specifically, and even knows the number of hairs in your head. So just, you need to big on yourself. This is how men's God's image in us. Moses, at some point, leading the children of Israel, they were in the wilderness, and Moses grew weary because they were always complaining. They always had a bone to pick and an issue to criticize Moses, and to criticize God and so forth. So if you live around people who are critical and who are, always picking a bone, it wears you down. And Moses had got to that stage where he was like, you know what, I've had it. I have had enough. I've had it now with these guys. I really don't want this anymore. So he went to God and said, you know what, I am tired of leading these people. I'm just only one person. I can't do this anymore. God, find somebody else. I am tired. And lots of us reach that breaking point in our relationships with our wives, with our children, with our jobs, with our communities. With You get to a breaking point where you're like, you know what, I just have had enough of this. I can't take it anymore. But listen to this, and you find this in Numbers chapter 11. You see, God knew the capacity He had placed in Moses. And He said to Moses, find me 70 men, 70, and bring them with you. I want to meet you on Mount Sinai. So Moses took this group, he went before the Lord, and the Lord took out of Moses, He took the spirit of Moses. God didn't create, a new Moses. No, the same Moses who was complaining and crying, God took out of him the spirit and filled these 70. Right? And then He said, delegate to them. So I'm just illustrating the capacity which Moses had, or the potential which he wasn't aware of. God took out of the spirit of Moses and gave it to further 70 people. God did not create a new spirit. God did not take out of him a new spirit. No, He took the spirit which was already resident in Moses, and then with the same spirit, He put it into the 70 men, and they were able to help Moses to carry the workload. What am I saying? I'm saying that you have so much in you, you don't even know. You have so much ability and so much capacity. Do not underrate yourself. Here is another negative example, if I might use that. And you find this in Mark chapter 5. You see, Jesus went and He saw this man who came out from the caves. He was cutting himself, he was in chains, and he was breaking these chains. Then he cast that demon out. And before the demon left, he asked, who are you? And he said, we are many. We are legion. But this legion was in one man. And the legion said, well, just send us to the pigs. And Jesus allowed that. And the spirits which were in this one man went into the pigs. And there were 2,000 pigs. So the spirit is coming out of one man and is going to 2,000 pigs, and they all perished. They could not even amongst the 2,000, they could not carry the weight which this man was carrying. Right? When he says we're a legion consists of between 3,000 to 6,000 soldiers. That's the kind of power and venom this man was carrying. That's why he could just break the chains like nothing was going on. Right? What am I saying? My point is, we have so much capacity which we are carrying, we are not even aware of. We can do so much if we are connected and remain in God and trust Him. At some point, Jesus actually told the Pharisees, He says, don't you know that God said you are gods, little g, right? He says you are gods, mankind are gods, right? Which shows the kind of capacity they have. So when we say we are made in the image and likeness of God, that's what we are talking about. That there is so much potential, so much ability, so much capacity. Do not underrate yourself. You see, God gave Adam incredible gifts. He gave him a garden, right, in which to flourish, in which to exercise his skills and his gifts. God has given you a territory. That family, that wife, those parents, those brothers, that's your domain to exercise what God has given you in different roles, as a son, as a husband, as a father, as a brother. So you need to be awake and fully know that God has already given and deposited the capacity and the ability in you. So God has given you a capacity to influence people, but you must be aware of your responsibility. God created everything first before He created man. So God has an order. God didn't just create man and then man was hungry and say, I want to eat, so what shall I eat? God said, oh, wait a minute, I still have to create fruits and then create this. No, no, no. God did this so orderly, so sequential. By day 6, when man showed up, everything was ready. What does that mean? It means if you are made in the image and likeness of God, we are an orderly people. We are not chaotic. We are not just fumbling. We are a people with a life plan, people who plan things, execute, and achieve. That is who we are if we are made in the image and likeness of God. When God did whatever He did, whether He created trees or spoke to the ground to produce vegetation, He looked at it, He examined it, and says, wow, this is good. In everything He created, He took a step back, looked at it, and commented. That's what we need to do as people. We can't just live through life like, we have to take a step back, examine what we have done, and be proud of what we have done or what we are doing. You see, but eventually God saw that man was lonely. And then, He made him to sleep. He said, it's not good that a man be alone. So He made him to sleep. And out of him took, a rib, and then, of course, created Eve and presented Eve to Adam. So God continued His creative ability. Now, what is the mandate that He gave? When you continue to read the good book, it tells you, especially in the first chapter of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 28, it says God created man and woman, but these were created last after everything else had been made ready. Then He gave them, He says, He blessed them and then pronounced an assignment. So God, the blessings of God, especially if you are a child of God, is already on you. And He has given you an assignment. It is telling you to run. What is the assignment? He says, be fruitful and multiply. So we serve a God of productivity, a God of creativity. That's the likeness we are talking about. The image is that we are spirit beings. That's why when we die, this becomes a corpse, right? That's the image. But the likeness is our capacity and ability and potential to create, to make things. That's because that's the blessing He pronounced on us. He says, be fruitful and multiply. He didn't say be fruitful and add. No, no, no. God's increase is exponential. And because it has a God part in it. And so it grows beyond normal because it's supernatural, because God is in it. And He said, fill the earth and subdue it. You see, so whatever the Lord is giving you, He's releasing you to do more, to control it, to be in charge. So you are the member in charge of your life, of your family. Do not abdicate your responsibility. He says, have dominion over the birds of of the air and the fish of the seas and the cattle and the beast of the forests. So God places us at the center, gives us a mandate. That's the mantle I'm talking about. God did not just create us for, just to wild time and just to say, well, I don't know what to do, and we just sleep. And no, no, no. God has an assignment, and God has work for you and for me. It's already made, it's already ready and waiting for you. He made us stewards. He is the owner. Oh, no, no doubt about that. He is the owner. That's why when you die, we just bury you and that's it. Everything else remains behind. It shows that it is an honor. But while you are alive, God has given you all these possessions and He says, enjoy them and work on them. You see, God gave us the assignment to name every animal, every tree, every vegetation, every creation was named by Adam. So that's the assignment we continue to have. And the other thing, God says, be happy. So in our lives, we deserve to be happy. We should be happy. We need to be happy. And we cannot go through life being miserable and crying and what. No, no, no. We need to be happy. That is what God has instructed us to be. And He gave us the garden to tend it or to look after it. Whatever God gives you as possessions, that's your responsibility to look after them, to keep them in good shape, right? And to guard them. So when Eve showed up on the scene, and I'm talking to you as men, when Eve showed up on the scene, Adam had a relationship with God. God used to come down and they would talk, in the cool of the day and so forth. So there was a relationship. What am I saying? Every man, you ought to know that you need to have a relationship with God through His Son Jesus. That's priority number one, because you are made in His image. You want to stay connected with Him. Second thing is, Adam had a job. J-O-B. He was told to tend the garden. All of us are men of responsibility. Find something to do. I do not care what kind of profession you are in. Whatever it is, do it best. If you are a sweeper, you must be the cleanest guy. And you sweep that office, you sweep that street, people will say, yes, this is a good job. So whatever profession, whatever job you are in, do it to the best of your ability. So Adam had a job. He was tending the garden, and Adam had a place to stay. Right? So if you are going to be a good husband, a good man, a good father, you need those things. You need a relationship with your God. You need a job. You need a place to stay for your family to be secure. Then, you see, Adam was given a job to cultivate, to protect, and to bring out the potential. And that is the job of a man. That is the mantle of a man. Your family, your wife, your responsibility. Don't say, my wife, she's not as beautiful as Brother Ben's wife. Stop looking at Brother Ben's wife. Look at your wife and cultivate her. It's your job to make sure you get all those supplies and all those perfumes and all those cosmetics and everything so that she looks good for you. Can't be going looking and shopping around elsewhere and then you don't want, and then your wife says, I want my hair to be done. You say, no, you're just wasting money. We don't have that money to waste. We're on a tight budget. Meanwhile, if Jane asks for something, you're quick to send a cash up. We can't have that as godly men. We are supposed to cultivate, and we are supposed to protect and to bring the best out of our children, out of our wives, out of all those people who are around us. But we must also be awake and smart and to know that we have an enemy of our soul. The devil is always out there trying to cause a lot of problems. You see, manhood is in obedience of God. That's where you find real men obey God. Right? Real men do not seek to be independent from God. Real men seek to be dependent on God. Real men hear what God says through his word, through his people, and they obey. You see, God has set rules and boundaries. Right? So the righteousness of God, which is our right standing in God, is governed by principles. God has given those principles for us to bloom and to blossom. That's why he told Adam and Eve, do not eat of this tree of the knowledge of good and evil. He was protecting them, but they were disobedient. And we need to know that God has put all these other things, all these which we seem to be calling rules and what, they're just principles for us to live by so that we can prosper. Now, disobedience is what brings sin, and sin brings death to individuals, to families, and to nations. Now, so continue to talk about these principles of men's mantle. Here are the areas, as I explained before. Our relationship with God is an area which we as men need to nurture, need to guard for ourselves, our wives, and our family. Why do I say so? When you go to Genesis chapter 3, verse 9, when Eve had taken the fruit, eaten it, given her husband, and he ate it, and they said, we are naked, and they hid behind the bush. And for some reason, I don't know whether they thought God didn't see beyond or through the bush, but they hid anyway. God did not say, hey, Eve, you are the one I saw you. You were given by the serpent. No, God says, Adam, where are you? Why ask Adam when God knew that it was Eve who eat first? Adam, because you are the leader, you are in front, you have the responsibility, the buck stops with you. That is what you need to know as a husband, that the buck stops with you. God is going to ask you, where are you? Why? Because he gave you the responsibility for that family. The moment you stopped that girl on the street and started flirting with her until she said yes and you married her, you took responsibility. So you can say, we are just equal. No, no. You are the one who made the first move. Even if she made the move, you agreed and accepted, right? So you are responsible. You are the priest of your household. Men are supposed to lead in the relationship with God in their households, their wives, and their children. So God is asking us as the Adams of today, where are we in our relationship with Him? Where are our families in their relationship with Him? Right? Now, again in the family, men have a responsibility. Yes, men are the heads of the household. That's what the book tells us in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 23, or 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3. It says the man is the husband, the man or the husband is the head of the wife, just as Christ is the head of the man. Right? It's okay to buy all this other gospel about equality and everything. Yes, we are equal. Yeah, physiologically we are equal, biologically we are different. Fine, but God has given a functional lead role to men. Right? Yes, you may have a wife who is much brighter and much more intelligent than you. She may even be earning double your salary. But you still remain the head of that house. It's not dependent on pay grade, on IQ, or on no, no. You are by designation. God gave you that responsibility. Whether your wife accepts it or whether your father or your mother-in-law or anybody, God gave you that responsibility. You cannot abdicate and say, for me, my wife doesn't listen to me. She's the leading. I'll leave her to lead. God will still hold you responsible. When he comes, he's going to say, Adam, where are you? So hold on to that. In the family, the way you lead doesn't, being designated a leader doesn't mean you are a dictator. This is where a lot of us lose it. Because I'm the leader, I always tell my wife and I talk down to her and say, you will do this because I'm the husband, I'm the head of the house. No, no. We are servant leaders. John chapter 13, Jesus took a towel and, he tied up his gown and then he washed the feet. And Peter was like, no, 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 I can't die. No, 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 it must be the other way. He says, if I don't wash you, you are not of me. And he says, okay, just wash me the whole body then. Then I know yours. You see, so we serve the wife and the family. That's who we are. Servant leaders. We are not dictators and, harassing them and what have you. Then what am I saying? I'm just saying the areas in which you lead. You lead in your relationship with God. You lead your family. You lead your family again as the leader of that family and in marriage. You lead also in serving in the church or in the family. You lead by example so that your children and your wife will see you participating and playing a role. You lead in the way you manage finances of your family. Right? You don't say, I earn all the money here. Well, what are you? What do you do? You just sleep here and just clean those plates and eat. That's all you know to eat. And you're eating too much, man. No, you don't. The finances, you sit down with your wife. She is, as far as all that business is concerned, she is equal to you. You sit down, you say, okay, honey, how much do you get? She says 400. And you say, okay, I get 300. You put it together, it's 700. You plan it together. You may have 4 or 5 different bank accounts. That doesn't matter, but you have one budget. You sit down, you put all the numbers together. You agree on how you spend the money. Let me tell you, give her some allowance, man. What are you gonna lose? She's gonna buy the perfume and all the other stuff and what have you. Just come up with some figure and make her happy. If she is happy, wife happy, man happy. I can tell you that. But if wife is not happy, okay, you know the deal. You know the deal. So what am I saying? I'm saying in those finances, have a shared budget, be transparent, and give these wives some allowances. Okay, in health issues, look out for your family. Look out for your wife. Has she had a mammogram done? How is she doing health-wise? Support her. Don't start saying, as for you, your headaches, they're just too much. Hey, every day you have a headache. No, no. Be supportive and see what is going on. She may be developing a condition and you may be ignoring and thinking, she's just nagging me. No, 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 no. Go with her to the doctor visits if you can. Doctor, I don't understand. My wife always has a headache. What is going on? Can you tell us? Pray for her, right? And then in work and in business, I can't tell you more. You all are professionals. Be a pro so that your wife can see a very good example. Then in education and advancement, again, I've seen some foolish men who do not want their women to advance. They say, no, we have no money. I'm not giving you money to do this and what have you. That's foolishness. If my wife is educated, gets a good job, then I can eat that money. What are you going to lose? She's going to eat that money on her own? No way. The most considerable and thoughtful people are women. You educate women, you have educated a nation. But men, they start looking for other women when when they think they've got all that. Okay, moving on to the family dynamics as I want to wind down. In the family setting, you see, the Greeks had so many terms which clearly articulate what is called love. It's just the Shonas, the Ndebeles, and the English who just call utando, utando, and they call it rudo, and that's it. They have no other way to describe or to pull it apart. The Greeks have so many ways to describe, eros and storge and philia and agape. What is all this? They are articulating and breaking it down so that you clearly understand how to relate to your spouse or to your wife, knowing that it's not just one big form of love. No, there are four types of love. When they were talking about eros, of course, it is, the erotic desire and passion. That is a place in a relationship, right? And they're talking about storge, that is the relationship in a family setting, the parent and child. relationship also is important between you and your spouse. Philia is again is like where you have common interest, like friendship. That's also important. Then agape. Agape is the unconditional love, and only Christ could do that right away. For most of us, it's a learning thing. We have to graduate into it. We can't naturally agape, naturally just love and unconditionally. Most of us love on a conditional basis. You do this for me, I do it for you. We do a tit for tat. So what's my point? My point is our love must be escalating, graduating, and growing, and the target is agape. Now, there are all kinds of dangers depending on the kind of love. If you're talking about eros, of course, unfaithfulness is the biggest enemy. Infidelity, cheating on your spouse, taking another partner. Of course, we know as children of God that is wrong, right? But that's what the devil uses to tempt you. So don't be naive. There are women who are out there looking for men, and you may be under attack without knowing it. Someone you work with in the office, or someone who is your neighbor, or somebody whom you call frequently. So be on guard yourself. Don't be loose and don't be making those comments and complimenting this. Meanwhile, you can't even compliment your wife. What kind of foolishness is that, right? Then, Stoje, spouses and children. Normally, the devil use chaos in the family. People just fight in a family, whether they are brothers, they are sisters, even husband and wife. Philia, with the brotherly kind of love, the devil will use jealousy, right? And unhealthy competition, even between spouses. They begin competing when they should be complementing. Then agape, of course, the devil will bring in selfishness. It's all about you. Hey, forget the wife. No, we are not like that. So researchers have also done some work, and they tell us that we speak different languages. There are 5 love languages which researchers have come about. This takes us to where we are now. The book which we are encouraging each and every one of you. I don't see myself now, so I don't know whether you can see me. Elias, I can't.
We can see you.
Okay. So this is the book which we are proposing. It's called 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. An excellent book. Please get that book. Please read that book with your wife. We have a workshop on the 13th of June where where couples will be sharing on those 5 love languages. What are they? Words of affirmation, right? This is where, because we speak different languages, and when you don't know which language your wife speaks, someone is speaking in Xhosa and somebody is speaking in Swahili, and they can't understand each other. That's why there are so many fights and so many because we do not understand the language. I'm not talking about the language as we know it, but I'm talking about the way someone deciphers messages from you and understands them. They say there are 5 different ways, 5 different languages. Words of affirmation is somebody who needs appreciation for doing what they are doing. That speaks to them, that fills their love tank. When you compliment them, when you thank them for making, this dinner, oh, it was sumptuous, honey. When the vegetable was very salty, and this and that. Yeah. Compliment them, compliment them, and help them along the way. Then quality time. This one, if your wife or husband speaks quality time and as busy as we are, you can get to a point of divorce. He never has time for me. She never has time for me. They're always running. Their job is more important than me. She is speaking quality time. So carve out some time and agree and say, honey, when can we go for dinner? Just the two of us. Or when can we go for a walk? When can we just go for a drive? Find that time in a week, whether it's in the evening, whether it's midday, whether it's on a weekend, but find The issue is to find, because when you do that, you're feeling her love tank. She speaks quality time language. Then receiving gifts. Somebody can be so ticked off that you didn't buy her flowers just in 1 week. That is her language. So if she wants those flowers, what are you gonna do? Just buy those flowers and give them to her. Or if she loves little trinkets or whatever, do that and spoil her and splash her. Because when you do that, then she is so happy. Then acts of service. Acts of service has to do with what you do for her. Some of it is just chores, helping her the chores, helping her with the kids, helping her with cleaning the house, helping her with cleaning the car or whatever it is that she says, "Oh, thank you so much. You are so thoughtful. You're so then she speaks acts of service language, right? Then of course there is the physical touch, right? Eros, as we were talking about, right? That is the intimacy, and there are various ways you discuss, you talk, you communicate. Don't second guess, don't be shy. Honey, how can I, make you feel good? Exactly what should I do? And also express yourself and whatever you want from her. You can't start to second guess and be shy and say, well, I can't ask her this. No, you have to. You see, they were both naked and were not ashamed. That's what that means. You and your wife, if one of you speaks that physical touch, then the other one has to understand exactly how and when and all the intricacies. You discuss. You can't guess them. You discuss, and then both of you work it along the way. Okay, so as I said, the challenge is that she speaks French and you speak Portuguese, and you don't understand each other. What is the assignment? What is the challenge? The challenge is to find your wife's language, love language. And they say some people may speak two, some may even speak three, right? But they are usually in a hierarchy. So find her major language and work with her. That's explained in the book. If I give you the answers now, you won't read the book. So I'm just trying to, keep you in suspense. So the solution is in discovering your spouse love language. Buy the book, attend the workshop on June the 13th. May God bless you. I hope this has helped someone and maybe just even one couple. If you guys already know it and you are happy in your relationships. Back